This morning we're going to learn how to find all of the columns with default values, and then we're going to demonstrate an example of how we can overwrite those. Those are not set in stone. So this can be really handy, especially if you're designing an application and you want to make sure that there's no default built into columns. In this example, I believe most of them are dates, but there might actually be a default as far as like notes or varchar characters, and so you just want to be careful not to override it, especially if you're new to an environment. And sometimes checking on the structure of tables, even though it may not be written into the manual, is good practice if you're a new developer. We definitely don't want to make anyone angry by accidentally doing something. Okay, so select star from information schema.columns where column default is not null. What this does is this will return all of the columns on tables in this database, client marketing, where there is a default. And you'll see, of course, these are all dates. So we can see the tables, we can see the schema and all the information and the data type as well. So a lot of people might think that, okay, well, if there's a default, that means I can't override it, and you'll see that we actually can. So I'm going to use merchant tracking as an example. So if I were to select star from merchant tracking, you'll notice I have merchant 1 and I have 2014 February 26th. Okay, so we have one merchant and it's in February of 2014. So let's suppose that, first of all, let's just go ahead and let's insert into merchant tracking a value. What we're going to do is we're going to pull out merchant date, and we're going to pull out this just to show you what the default value does. Take a look at that, and you'll notice it shows up as of today's date. So what happens if we overwrite the default, right? So this is a default value. So if I insert this value, and I'm, let's say, 20 days ago, so this should be July 6th, and then I select star from this table, we will see that July 6th is this value. Okay? So what that means is that, excuse me, is that even though the column default is there, we can override that column default. Now, in many situations as developers, we won't need to do that at all. We will only need to do that in certain applications. But there are applications, if you see a column default, and let's say you're new to the organization, just check really fast to make sure that it's okay to override a default if you need to do that, if you need to go, let's say, backdate a date or whatnot. Varchar fields, it might be different. It might be, well, we're going to put in these notes like no notes when there's no notes. Otherwise, we'll put in notes.